Welcome to the information session for potential applicants to the competition for the pre-service improvement grants to support related service providers to effectively serve children with disabilities and their families. This competition falls under the Personnel Development to Improve Services and Results for Children with Disabilities program, which is a discretionary grant program managed by the Office of Special Education Programs. This information session will provide you with information about applying for this grant opportunity that was posted in the Federal Register on February 21st, 2024. I am Yolanda Lucane, a project officer at OSEP. Today, I will provide interested applicants with information regarding this grant competition. The assistance listing number is 84.325S. I would like to go over some caveats before we begin this webinar. First, the intent of this presentation is to provide guidance only, and the information contained in this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the notice inviting applications and the application package. Therefore, it's important that all prospective applicants read the entire notice, application package, and any additional relevant information. There are 6 footnotes in the priority with key information and definitions, so please read them carefully. In addition, applicants are encouraged to listen to a more general webinar entitled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for an orientation to the overall application submission process. That webinar can be found at osepideasthatwork.org, the same location that houses the link to this recording. Please be aware of application timelines. The notice inviting applications was published in the Federal Register on February 21st, 2024. All applications are due on May 1st, 2024, no later than 11:59 and 59 seconds in the evening. Note that this is Eastern Time, and applicants should determine the corresponding time in your time zone. I will discuss the implications of a late submission later in this session. The application package is available on grants.gov. It contains the most comprehensive information on how to apply. In it, you will find a Dear Applicant letter from the Director of OSEP's Research to Practice Division. The package includes important information about the submission procedures using the grants.gov system. The package also contains the detailed selection criteria that will be used to judge the quality of the applications, as well as general information in all required forms. Please read the application package carefully. In the following section, I will go over important information, including the purpose of this priority and eligible applicants. I will also discuss the funding level for the 84.325S competition. The purpose of the Personnel Development Program is to increase the numbers of qualified personnel serving children with disabilities in early intervention, early childhood special education, and related services. Additionally, the Personnel Development Program aims to ensure that graduates enter the workforce with the necessary knowledge, skills, and competencies to deliver high-quality services through methods grounded in research. The purpose of this priority is to fund institutions of higher education with related services degree programs to expand or enhance curriculums, courses of study, and clinical experiences to increase the competencies of related services personnel to serve children with disabilities and their families in early intervention, early childhood, and educational settings. Eligible applicants under this priority include institutions of higher education and private nonprofit organizations that have legal authority to enter into grants and cooperative agreements with the federal government on behalf of an institution of higher education. Applicants with an active 84.325K, 84.325M, or 84.325R grant in the discipline degree program being proposed for enhancement are not eligible to apply. Please refer to the eligibility note in the application for additional information. We anticipate 13 awards. Each award will not exceed an estimated $450,000 for a total project period of 36 months. For example, you can have a budget of $150,000 for year one, $200,000 for year two, and $100,000 for year three. It is up to the grantee to determine the budget that will be needed for each year based on proposed project activities. This program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate and does not include any program-specific limitation on administrative expenses. All administrative expenses must be reasonable and necessary and conform to cost principles described in Title II of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 200, Subpart E of the Uniform Guidance. In this section, beginning on slide 12, I will review application information, including expected project outcomes, application narrative and selection criteria, and requirements. Once again, this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the NIA and the application package. Please make sure to read the entire notice, including footnotes, application package, and any additional relevant information if you intend to apply. The Preservice Improvement Enhancement grants will have 3 expected outcomes that must be achieved. These are: we want to increase the number of related service providers, including those who are multilingual and racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse, equipped with the competencies necessary to deliver services to children with disabilities and their families in early intervention, early childhood, and school-based settings. We also want to increase the number of institutions of higher education, including historically Black colleges and universities, tribally controlled colleges and universities, and other minority-serving institutions with related services personnel preparation programs at the associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, educational specialist, or clinical doctorate degree level that includes sufficient coursework, assignments, and clinical experiences in early intervention, early childhood, and school-based settings to support students in developing competencies to serve children with disabilities and their families. We want to build faculty capacity to design and implement enhanced degree programs at the associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, educational specialist, or clinical doctorate degree level that prepare related services providers to deliver services to children with disabilities and their families in early childhood, early intervention, and school-based settings. The notice lays out how the application narrative should be divided into 5 sections. These section headings are identical to the 5 categories of selection criteria used by reviewers to evaluate each application. I will go over the narrative sections and selection criteria and point out in general terms what should be addressed in each section of the narrative and how reviewers will consider each of the selection criteria. Please read the notice carefully, since the information contained in the notice is significantly more detailed. Please read the significant section of the NIA for specific expectations of what to include in this section. This is a brief summary. The narrative section on significance should provide information on addressing the need in the field to increase the number of related service providers and increase faculty competencies to design and deliver content in the proposed area. Reviewers will score the significance of proposed projects between 0 and 10 points. In determining the significance of the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following criteria: the extent to which the proposed project will prepare personnel for fields in which shortages have been demonstrated. This includes personnel who are multilingual or racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse. The impact of the results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project, especially improvements in teaching and student achievement. Quality of project services. Please carefully read the narrative and criteria sections for quality of project services. This is a brief overview. This section of the narrative should describe how the proposed applicant will describe how it plans to develop or modify a curriculum including coursework and field or practicum, clinical practicum experiences for the proposed degree program. Develop partnerships with early intervention, early childhood, and school-based sites. Provide professional development to faculty and staff to develop their capacity to develop and deliver the courses and the curriculum. When evaluating applications for quality of project services, worth up to 45 points, reviewers will consider the following factors: clear and measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes, and current knowledge from research and effective practice. Also considered will be training or professional development services that will lead to improvements in practice. Slide 20 relates to the quality of project personnel and the quality of the management plan for proposed projects. In this section, the narrative should address how the proposed management plan will ensure that the project's intended outcomes will be achieved on time and within budget. Demonstrate how key project personnel and any consultants and subcontractors will be allocated and how these allocations are appropriate and adequate to achieve the project's intended outcomes, and how the proposed management plan will ensure that the products and services provided are of high quality, relevant, and useful to recipients. The proposed project will encourage applicants for employment from persons who are members of groups that have been traditionally represented. The project director and key project personnel have the qualifications and experience to carry out the proposed activities and achieve the project's intended outcomes. The project director and other key project personnel will manage the components of the project. The time commitments of the project director and other key project personnel are adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project. The proposed management plan will ensure that the project will meet the proposed objectives and the degree program will be of high quality. And the proposed project will benefit from a diversity of partner perspectives, including faculty, community partners, families of children with disabilities, early intervention, early childhood and school personnel, among others, in its development and operation. Reviewers will score the quality of the management plan between 0 and 20 points, taking into consideration the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of key project personnel, the adequacy of the management plan to achieve the objectives of the proposed project on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks, the extent to which the time commitments of the project director and principal investigator and other key project personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project, and the adequacy of mechanisms for ensuring high-quality products and services from the proposed project. Please read the narrative and criteria sections for adequacy of resources carefully. This is a brief overview. Slide 22 relates to the adequacy of resources and quality of personnel for proposed projects. This section of the narrative describes adequate resources for the applicant and key partners to carry out the project as intended, as well as a budget aligned with the proposed activities that will meet intended objectives. Reviewers will score the adequacy of resources section between 0 and 10 points, taking into consideration resources such as facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources are available to support the project. and that reasonable costs are aligned with objectives and project design. Slides 24 and 25 relate to the quality of a proposed project's evaluation. This portion of the narrative should evaluate how well the goals or objectives of the proposed project have been met, describe how the project will collect, analyze, and use data on students in the program to inform the proposed project on an ongoing basis, provide an assurance that if the project maintains a website, it will be of high quality with an easy-to-navigate design that meets or exceeds government and industry recognized standards for accessibility. Include in the budget attendance at a 3-day project directors conference in Washington, D.C. during each year of the project period, and provide an assurance that the project will submit the enhanced curriculum and syllabi for courses that are included. Reviewers will score the quality of project evaluation between 0 and 15 points. In determining the quality of the proposed project evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors. Are the evaluation methods clear, achievable, and aligned to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project? And do the evaluation methods help the proposed project to provide performance feedback and permit periodic assessments of progress toward achieving intended outcomes? Reviewers are required to read the requirements for Appendix A. Please refer to the Dear Colleague letter and the NIA for more details related to Appendix A. This is a brief overview of evaluation materials that should be included in Appendix A. Appendix A can include charts, tables, figures, graphs, screenshots, and visuals that provide information directly relating to the application requirements for the narrative. Appendix A can also include evaluation methodologies, data collection methods, and data analyses that will be used that are depicted in charts, tables, figures, etc. Please do not include supplementary information in Appendix A. Again, read the NIA carefully. The external reviewers will judge and score the quality of the application using selection criteria. Each application can receive up to a total of 100 points. As I mentioned on the previous slides, the significance of the project can be scored up to 10 points, quality of project services up to 45 points, quality of the project evaluation up to 15 points, adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel up to 10 points, and quality of the management plan up to 20 points. The application package contains more details about the narrative requirements and selection criteria. Applicants are strongly encouraged to read these carefully when preparing the application narrative. Within this absolute priority, we give competitive preference and will award an additional 3 points to an application that meets the competitive preference priority. Applicants must indicate in the abstract if the competitive preference priority is addressed. OSEP will base decisions on the definitions provided in the eligibility matrix. The link to the matrix is included at the bottom of this slide. A few more reminders. A successful applicant must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities, involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities ages birth through 26 in planning, implementing, and evaluating the project, maintain a high-quality website, budget for attendance at a 3-day project directors conference in Washington, D.C. during each year of the project period. Also, applicants will be required to submit to OSEP the enhanced curriculum and syllabi for courses that are included in the related services personnel preparation program that is part of the project. Sometimes applicants have questions about the permissibility of subgrants and contracts. Under this award, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to specific types of entities to directly carry out project activities described in its application. Refer to 34 CFR 75.708 B and C. In this next section, beginning on slide 32, I will cover some general information related to submitting an application. Once again, please refer to the notice for additional information. Please note that all applications must be submitted electronically in the grants.gov system. See grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants included in the application package. We strongly recommend that you do not wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date and timestamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. The time it takes to upload an application will vary depending on a number of factors, including the size of the application and the speed of your internet connection. And the time it takes grants.gov to process the application will vary. If grants.gov rejects your application, you will need to resubmit successfully to grants.gov before 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time on the deadline date. If there are reasons why an applicant cannot submit using grants.gov, the applicant must follow the information contained in the application package. Applications cannot be submitted by email, and they must be submitted prior to the deadline of 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. on May 1st, 2024. We strongly encourage applicants to submit all narratives and attachments in PDF read-only format and to ensure narratives and attachments are formatted to ensure accessibility for reviewers. In order to make sure that the application is submitted on time and correctly, please register as early as possible in grants.gov and start the application process. Do not wait until you have the application ready to register. Grants.gov will create a workspace for applicants to submit the pieces of the application over time. If you are already registered in the System for Award Management, make sure your registration is current. Submit early, a day or more in advance if possible. Should there be any problems with the grants.gov system, submitting early will allow you time to correct the problem and resubmit before the deadline. Verify that the submission is okay. Grants.gov will send applicants notification that the submission was on time and validated. So applicants should make sure that they receive that confirmation and not assume the submission was okay. On this slide, we have some additional advice for submitting an application. Pay attention to the maximum funding levels for the grant, as contained in the notice. Awards will not be made for amounts higher than the published amounts. Following the recommended organization, page limits, spacing, and font sizes to facilitate the application review process, and applicants should strongly consider following the recommendations. PDF files make it easier for the system to put together different parts of the application into one application that reviewers can more easily read and follow. The grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants in the application package can be extremely helpful for submitting the application in grants.gov. Please note that if for any reason an application is submitted more than once and validated more than once, the last application submitted will be considered and previous applications will be considered duplicates and therefore ineligible. There are 2 additional reasons why an application may not be eligible. First, all applications received after the published deadline will not be eligible for funding. Second, applications that do not address the priority will also not be eligible for funding. For example, an application proposing to fund a private pediatric therapy practice or early intervention program will not be eligible since that is not the purpose of this priority. Once again, the purpose of this priority is to fund institutions of higher education with related services degree programs to expand or enhance curriculums, courses of study, and clinical experiences to increase the competencies of related service personnel to serve children with disabilities and their families in early intervention, early childhood, and educational settings. Thank you for reviewing this webinar. As I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar covered highlights of what's contained in the application package and priority. Please read the NIA in its entirety, including footnotes. If you have additional questions, please contact me, preferably by email, at yolanda.lusane@ed.gov. You may also call 202-987-0146. Please reach out with any questions, big or small, about the applicant process. Have a wonderful day.